welcome you all to CaFFEET' 2013 on the theme of how can big data boost society's resilience.
Big data is becoming a tool, a very important tool for utilities, and in particular a company like EDF is going to use big data to improve, for example, the resiliency and the maintenance of its installation, to develop new services for its customers, to develop new simulation tools in order to improve management and operation in nuclear power stations and so on. France and California are roughly two countries with the same size, the same population. The two areas had a lot to exchange, and so we decided to set up CaFFEET with these objectives. And we had also in mind that it could be also a way for French startups to come in the US to present their products, and also for US investors to be aware of French technologies and to see how they could leverage them on the US market.
So with the use of data, you can think about faster decisions, more scalably kind of better decisions that can be made with the assistance of machines. CaFFEET has really brought together great thought leaders, along with Prime and EDF and the Consulate of the Republic of France. This is a forum for us to really bring together thought leaders from different domains. And I think CaFFEET is really is driving that thought leadership. For us, big data is going to be transformational. It's going to change our lives as human beings. It's going to change businesses. It's going to transform society. And you can see the impact of big data already. The quantified self, the Internet of Things, industrial internet, in different domains. That's going to impact every vertical industry, that's going to impact different functional areas in businesses, and really improve the productivity of us as human beings.
About 5 or 6 years ago, we thought that there were some holes in the way that people evaluate companies, especially when we were looking at Wall Street, and that Wall Street wasn't able to predict some of the changes that were happening, especially in the financial crisis. So we thought that there had to be additional ways to look at companies and how to judge them. We think the concept of resilience should be driven throughout society, businesses, public sector, and the nonprofit sector.
What does big data mean to me? I actually am not a big fan of the term big data because it is confusing and people have varying definitions of it. So I tend to focus more on the data analytics and how we're applying that in the electric industry, combining data, integrating the data, doing algorithms on it to find new information and understanding what is the valuable information. Because there's a lot of information, a lot of data, a lot of it's interesting, but not all of it's valuable. And the opportunity to come here and get the perspective from a variety of organizations, from the electric, gas, water, academia, and also learning about startups is just a great opportunity to learn and exchange information to see how it might apply to the research that we're doing at EPRI.
This conference and open discussions such as this brings forth interesting problems to solve, and many times what happens is academia is a little bit remote to practical concerns, and what I find here is to actually really connect these dots between what we can provide from academia and what the real concerns are, so that we can actually reach the real issues which are existing out there and not actually just wander in isolation.
CaFFEET is a very exciting group that basically is looking at the resiliency and the application of big data to the resiliency across the board. Utilities, governments, cities, infrastructures, it's an incredibly exciting opportunity and time to participate.
CaFFEET' is really a very important event for us because for Prime it's a venue and an opportunity to form a partnership between Paris region entities, academia, and companies. So we are inviting companies to participate to the event. The topic is also very important: clean tech, energy, big data. This is topics we are working on. And for CaFFEET'13, it's also an opportunity to meet the entrepreneurs. We have 15 companies coming to this event. They did the pitch, and it's an opportunity for the companies to present themselves and to get an introduction to US partners.
What we do, since there is a constant flow of water that goes from the roots to the leaf area, we monitor that flow of water.
This is the tube in Paris. If you've ever been to Paris, this is a very common occurrence. The problem is that this is actually happening everywhere in the world.
Big data is not something new. Back in 2006, I was doing my PhD in bioinformatics, and I was analyzing 2 terabytes of data. It's just, we didn't call it big data. We just called it too many data to do on one computer. So for me, big data just means I'm using data to solve a good problem, an interesting problem. We created technology called contextual modeling. The difference is that statistical extrapolation only tells you what happened in the past, whereas our technology identifies why it happens. And by doing this, it gives you better insights into the real dynamics underlying the behavior in the cities.
If you look at commercial buildings, they account for 40% of the world's energy use. And then 1/3 of that energy use simply wasted.
I accept the invitation of CaFFEET' because the topic of CaFFEET' corresponds to what we do in green communication in the company. So we are creating a network on demand for the resilience. For example, if something is happening like a nuclear accident, there is no network or networks are saturated, so we could create a network on demand and then people they could communicate between each other on that network. What I'm expecting from CaFFEET' is networking and also maybe investors and also clients.
So we have an app called Presence, and it transforms your old phones and iPads into free Wi-Fi video cameras. So you download the app onto 2 devices, and then you can turn on motion detection alerts and keep an eye on your home, your pet, your baby, whatever, when you're out of the house. And it's basically a free and easy way for users to get up and running with connected home without having to buy a lot of expensive hardware.
Big data is a part of open data, but open data isn't necessarily part of big data. You know, big data exists in big organizations that want to be private about their data. You know, there's that intellectual property is something they need to protect for their very existence. In terms of the sheer scale, again, you know, a city like Palo Alto, we don't have the data set scale that, say, for example, that exists in Paris or in France more generally, but it can be small and important.
Making sure that we train the next generation of data scientists is extremely important. But even beyond this, there's a question of how do we make it natural for civil servants, for public officers in general, to really build on a culture of data. Because what has been the sea change in recent history is the fact that we truly entered an era of information as a tool for public services, as a tool for innovation, as a tool to engage with communities. There's also a question of how do we make it part of everyday's lives of the people who serve citizens throughout our communities and our countries.
We can present all the data that's available, but it has to become part of public policy making, and that's a skill that a new generation of elected people are going to need.
I guess this is exactly what, I mean, see, this is in action what's great about CaFFEET' and what's great about a place like Stanford and Palo Alto, and thanks for welcoming us here. It's how you end up realizing that we have very similar issues in different ways. That's actually something we talked about right after the panel. You know, we do face very similar issues in our own communities, which are set apart maybe 10,000 miles or something like this, and we really face similar problems and how we can drive this agenda forward. So I'm really excited about this sort of data-driven policies that people in places such as Stanford and universities worldwide, and there's research in Paris on this as well, can invent for a better world.
Types of information that we have to collect. Not only do we need information on the bridges themselves, but we need information on the travel links, the travel zones, the traffic flow. All that information has to be gathered before an event. We can then try to estimate what is the risk in terms of the potential damage and destruction.
I see a world where people that are way smarter than us can again derive insights from the information that we have available.
Yeah, and that it actually is in a situation where it has real world importance, physical world importance. It's shaping the world, especially in terms of disaster preparedness. It can change zoning, it can change rescue plans. These are all really important issues now.
That's right, and for me, I've been following earthquakes for a long period of time, and it's interesting to see how modern technology is changing the way we handle the aftermath of a major disaster, and it's just making such a big difference. And that's another reason why I thought it would be interesting to hear from others.
The international perspective is important. I liked your diagram that showed how that the tweets from the earthquake, the Japanese earthquake, went all around the world. And I also feel that it's situations that are cross-border that are really important. So say if there's a river flooding, by the time the institutions, the governments are able to warn people about it, it can happen a lot quicker through Twitter or other forms of social media, which is vital in an emergency.
That's one of the streets in Long Beach that faces the ocean. Everybody had sand in their homes. Not just sand. This is a base, this is a garage. I don't know if you can... Innovation occurs when you bring lots of different people from lots of different disciplines together to learn from each other, which is what I saw in the room today and yesterday at this event. Because I saw many different people from many different disciplines, from Stanford, from MIT, from IBM, from Orange, from Renault, from lots of different startups, all talking about big data. They all use the same language, they all use the same words, but they all had very different understandings. And that's how you innovate. When you bring different people together from different parts of the world, from different ideas, from different cultures, and you let them share together what they understand.
I'm very pleased to see that big companies, French companies, American companies, and startups, all together, they gather to discuss, to meet. It's very important to me because I think that big companies have a lot to gain from meeting with startups, and startups, of course, they need to work and partner with big companies. Science and business in the Silicon Valley, it's totally linked. So it's our job to put on the table major issues. Last year we discussed energy efficiency. This year we're talking about big data. So it's very important because around these issues we can bring together startups, corporates, and universities like Berkeley or Stanford. And after that, we know that very positive things, a lot of value will come out of these meetings.